Let's talk aviation in Nigeria. Flight delays have continued to worsen at 16 airports across Nigeria, which do not have facilities for nighttime operations, forcing airlines to cancel flights that cannot meet up with the 6:30 p.m. landing time. Out of 22 airports managed by the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, only Abuja, Port Harcourt, Benin, Enugu, Kano, and Kaduna airports have airfield lighting to enable flights to land and take off on or after 6:30 p.m., while others are referred to as daylight airports. Nigeria's biggest domestic airport, the Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos, also does not have airfield lighting for night flights, thereby forcing airlines to land at the international terminal and then taxi for about 20 to 30 minutes to the domestic terminal to disembark passengers. Joining us to discuss further, Yemi Dada, who is the Managing Director of Harrier Global Services Limited. Good afternoon to you, or good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us. Does the lack of lighting for night flight operations, does that fall under the purview of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria and the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority?
Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority is the regulator of the industry. Regulator by practice is not meant to be a player. The airport authority in Nigeria, or the airport owner, is the one who is responsible for the airport facilities, which includes the runway and the runway lights as well.
So does this in any way, with what the infrastructure issues we're seeing, does it bolster the case for private ownership, if that's even possible?
Yeah, it actually is a good argument for this, because the government resources are stretched. Again, the contribution to the earnings of this agency comes from largely the domestic airlines who use them more frequently. And because there are challenges within the industry, they also have problems sometimes settling their bills with the government agencies. It's a case of which one comes first, the chicken or the egg, because they are suffering from poor facilities from the airport. And so sometimes they sort of subsidize their own operations by not making payments as and when due. So what needs to be done is for people with capacity to take up the ownership of the airport under the government's proposed privatization program, and to expand the facilities and improve the infrastructure.
Thank you for that. I want to get your take on this quote from Dr. Obiora Okonkwo, who's the chairman of United Nigeria Airlines. Says the aviation industry will collapse. The airline business is the live wire of the entire aviation value chain. If airlines don't fly, or the airlines are in comatose, NAMA, Nigeria Airspace Management Agency, NCAA, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, FAN, Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, they will not get the required revenue to run their operations. Is he being alarmist, or is he factual?
Well, there is some level of truth in there, because the aviation is the catalyst for growth in modern economies. It enables you to move things, store goods for just-in-time delivery, and so on and so forth. The thing about it in Nigeria is that the woes of current operators is what encourages new potential investors who are standing by to enter the industry. So if Dr. Obiora goes out of business, there are 10 or 15 other people waiting to replace him. But the challenge is that whatever it is that he is facing today, they will also face when they come into operation. There are existential threats for current operators, which needs to be addressed structurally, so that any player that comes into the market can have an environment to operate in.
Thanks. I want to take a look at a list of challenges that are faced by airlines in Nigeria. So we've got, let's see what we got. Aviation fuel, apparently up about 110% to 400 naira per litre year on year. I think that's a conservative estimate. We've got foreign exchange availability, and then maintenance costs. So how do we address these challenges, sir?
Well, the aviation fuel is a reflection of international crude prices. Aviation fuel has been deregulated for many years for the simple reason that government thinks it's aviation air travel is for the elite and should not be subsidized, which is a good argument, which we are right across board for petroleum products anyways. But the challenge that the airlines currently face is that it's an opaque process for oil companies who import this product. There is a blended exchange rate at which they import the product, getting some foreign exchange from government at official rate, but then they price their entire product at the P2P exchange rate, which is the highest rate in the market. That, of course, increases what the Naira sales price of the product is. Government needs to step in because government is making this foreign exchange available to them at this blended rate, so to speak, because they get official and then they get some P2P to make sure that you don't just leave it as a free market in that sense. There is no truly unregulated market because it, of course, has its detrimental effects to economy. Again, when we come to the foreign exchange availability, it is a challenge for airlines because the thing that airlines sell is speed. You cannot want to buy spare parts and wait for 2-3 months before you can get them while you keep your aircraft on ground being unproductive. So the central bank needs to step in and find a way to make sure that foreign exchange is made available to airlines very quickly. And then the maintenance part of it is actually something that domestic airlines can themselves try and work on to build capacity to use local labor, which is the biggest part of aircraft maintenance costs to reduce their costs.
Thank you so much for that, sir. Ticket fares, they tend to rise around the festive periods, holiday periods, and then they fall back down again. Should there be a more permanent hike in ticket fare? I mean, Dr. Okonkwo had also mentioned that in a separate quote. Well, what do you make of the ticket fare situation?
Well, air travel is priced on the basis of demand and supply. It rises around the festive period because it's high demand, and of course the constricted supply sits available and does not increase significantly. And then there's a basket of things that go into fares and pricing. The airlines are free, they are not regulated per se in terms of what they can charge. Challenge is that elasticity of pricing comes in, have just a little window of which you can increase, of how much you can increase your fares by until you begin to lose passengers to alternative means of transportation. So it's a careful balance of what they are doing to watch the economics and how they recover cost and to try and make it profitable.
Thanks for that. There was a strike that was threatened last week or the week before. It was called off. How do we stop future strikes from happening? Is that another, as far as the aviation industry and unions, is that another tough situation there for the industry?
Well, there are several unions and several. The other strike was called something that related to government. There are also other pockets of strikes threatening private domestic airlines. So each party needs to address what it is that they're working on. The one for government, I think, because again, like we said earlier, resources of government are stretched and it's finite. If they can privatize this in airports especially, which are the largest employers, and allow more resources to go into the other government agencies that can't be privatized. And I think what the unions were asking for, which is better conditions of service, that unions themselves need to sit with government, looking into the future and not looking into the past, to see that they work together to make sure that the privatization effort becomes a success. Not like what we see in the power industry.
Thank you. So what's your outlook with everything we've discussed? Very robust discussion. What's your outlook for the aviation sector this year? Is the virus still the biggest threat?
Well, for Nigeria, because operators are largely small carriers, and the effect of COVID pandemic has not been as it is in other territories where it's ravaged the economy significantly. The recovery for Nigeria has been very rapid. And because roads are still difficult to travel for several reasons, security, infrastructure being improved, the rails are not there yet, and some effort is being made. But the government has done quite a lot to support the industry under this administration. A lot of bureaucratic bottlenecks is still strangulating the things that have been given. You can't believe that there's a law that allows you to import aircraft and get it duty-free, import parts, but then to get it, you have to go through a process that takes you 3 to 6 months instead of something that you can actually access instantaneously. So there are good sides of it, and the industry shows resilience in terms of passengers numbers traveling, but in terms of the cost side, a lot of things have to be done to improve.
Excellent stuff. Mr. Yemi Dada, CEO, or the Managing Director, Harrier Global Services Limited, thank you so much for talking to us about the aviation sector. Appreciate your time.